Hi, this is Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards. Today I'm going to show you my 1971 Topps graded cards. Full of Hall of Famers, this set. You have the players like Mays and Aaron getting ready to retire, Yastrzemski. You have the newer players like Reggie Jackson, Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, just starting out in their careers. So kind of a fantastic set. This is actually the first set I collected as a kid, or at least remember opening up packs as a kid. So it does have a special place in my heart, the 71 cards. So we're going to start with probably my favorite card is the Willie Mays 71. And this actually is his last full year 71 with the Giants. His 72 card does show him in a Giants uniform, but he was traded in May of that year. So most of his year he was with the Mets, even though the card shows him in a Giants uniform. So Willie Mays, really cool looking card. Next, we'll continue with the Giants here. I got the Willie Mccovey stretch, one of the great first basemen of all time. Him and Mays are my favorite players. Big swing, just rocket the ball, pull the ball, left-hander. We got the player that's probably played for the most teams as a Hall of Famer, and that's Gaylord Perry. So a lot of people don't realize he actually came up as a Giant. There's Gaylord. Next is the Bobby Bonds, Barry's dad. He had the tough thing to basically follow Willie Mays in center field for the Giants. Was a five-tool player, had a ton of injuries, was traded a lot, just never, his potential was never reached, but was a great player at one time. There's Bobby. Now, the iconic card in the set, at least I think, is the Rookie Cup of Thurman Munson here. And what's interesting too about this set is this was the first year when they would actually have live, and their base cards, live action photos. And here he is, this is in Yankee Stadium, playing against the A's. And what's also interesting, if you look online, you can actually see this game was actually played in 1970 in July. And in the background, you would see in the original photo of Reggie Jackson telling this player, I think Chuck Dobson, to slide. So kind of interesting when you see the actual photo, but kind of a iconic card of Thurman Munson, who should be in the Hall of Fame. Next we have Yaz, the great player, played all his whole career in Boston, followed the great Ted Williams, and then after Yaz retired, then you have Jim Rice out there in the outfield. So 3 consecutive great players. This is, I think this is the year he won the Triple Crown, or was it 1970? I don't know. But anyway, pretty cool card of Yastrzemski. Next we have Joe Morgan. And what's also interesting for this card here, this is the first time I think Topps actually used a photo on the back of the card. And you can see that it does not have year-by-year stats. It just has the last year 70, and it has career stats. But I guess since they put the photo in the back of the card, they didn't have room to add the year-by-year stats. Next, we have Rod Carew. Rod Carew, man, he would never strike out. That ball would go all over the field, man. We just pepper it. Like he's playing pepper out there. Didn't hit very many home runs, but he would always get a hit. So Rod Carew. We got a guy would frustrate most hitters, Phil Negro, the knuckleballer. We have Earl Weaver. And most, these are not action shots, but most of the action shots were taken at either Shea Stadium or Yankee Stadium, which was interesting. And also, if you notice in a lot of photos in the 60s and 70s, many of the photos were taken in San Francisco or Oakland. The background, you would see the Oakland or San Francisco Candlestick Park Stadium. But this year, the action photos were actually taken, most of them, Shea Stadium and Yankee Stadium. So Earl Weaver, great manager, known for the best arguments, arguing with umpires. We have Ron Santo, the great Cub player, broadcaster, led the league in walks, I think 4 times. We have Don Sutton, Hall of Famer, also a broadcaster. Now this set was 752 cards, which is, I think, the largest set at that particular time for Topps. Let's see the back again. Don Sutton. We have Jim Catfish Hunter. At one time was the highest paid player. His name Catfish came from Charles Finley, named him. He thought he needed a nickname, so called him Catfish. And then he was one of the first free agents and signed the biggest contract at that time. Great pitcher. Died at a young age, I think at like 53 of ALS. We have Jim Bunning. And then also these cards, there's a lot of rookies. You have Garvey, Baker, Concepcion, who else? I can't remember, but there's a ton of rookie players too to collect. We have Red Shantings right there, and he had 74 years. He would go to spring training in a uniform. 74 straight years he would be employed by a major league team as a coach, manager, player. Now we have one player here it's not in a Hall of Fame, but Burt Campaneris. I love these old uniforms. Him and Dave Concepcion were two of the great players at that time for shortstops. I think he led the league, Burt Campaneris, a few times. He was on the for stolen bases on the great A's teams of the 70s. So 1971 graded cards, fantastic set to collect, tough to find in high grade, but one of my favorites. So thanks again for watching. This is Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards. Bye.